slippery. Won't shift. It's not shifting. It's stuck in second gear. And I don't think it's a foot problem because I was shifting just fine. Neutral, second. It won't go into third. Well, hello everyone, Tony here. So today we have a shop day. Today we are doing the CRF300LA ABS. So the problem we're having is with the gear shifter spindle. Very common problem. Also, I was having issues with my clutch because somehow I didn't get the spring on there right. And you know, that's a separate issue, but we're taking care of both issues now. So we have to pull this, we have to pull the clutch and the clutch basket in order to get the spindle out. And I'm not sure, but this either gets pushed in or it gets pushed. Most likely it gets pushed up, and that's what bends it, because you can see. So I washed out low side on this side on very, very, very hard packed dirt. Wasn't that bad or anything like that. Airbag didn't go off and so on. It was just a slide, but the bike did hit here. And once that happened, I wasn't able to get past second gear. So I've been having issues with shifting for a long time, and I always thought it was just me, but I bet, you know, I've dropped this thing dozens of times. I bet I bent it earlier, and I just finally got to the point to where it just gave up. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this. We do need to pull this guy off and clean this up. And my preferred method is with WD-40. So we'll clean this up, get this guy off. There it goes. All right, so hear that? I don't know if that's normal. It's obviously hitting something. It sounds like it's hitting the side case, but we'll go ahead and take a look. So we're gonna pull the side case. So I've already drained the oil. I've already drained the antifreeze and so on. And I've taken it off freezer. I just put it back on for overnight purposes, and I put a couple screws to hold it in place. One there, and we got one here. Parts are on order, so it's going to probably take a week or so to get the part. All right, so the issue I had was the spring that goes here was either in the wrong position or had fallen off or something. So that was one issue. Now that we've got the plate off, this is the guy right here, all right? And you have to, so when it gets pushed, if I'm not mistaken, it's hitting the basket up here. So I have to pull the basket in order to get, so it's in gear right now. See, it's spinning. So I got to pull this. So one thing I can do is I can lock the chain, which I'll probably do, and then go ahead and pull this, or I can zip tie it. But this one doesn't have the holes through here, so you can't use a zip tie to lock this in place. I do have the tool, so we'll see what works best, and we'll go ahead and pull this off. I will need to replace this. It looks like that gets bent. Can't really tell, and the manual really doesn't say much except replace, but I can imagine this is part of this piece right here is part of this nut, and we'll go ahead and then you just tap it down into here. So we'll go ahead and spin it off and see what happens. It's most likely these little guys right here that are bent. This something in here, this guy right here gets bent. So we'll pull it off and inspect it. We'll inspect everything else in there and see what's going on. So next we'll go ahead and unbolt this. All right, so we're gonna try our impact wrench. We got everything locked down. There we go. That was pretty easy. So yeah, so this has the built-in, has a little built-in flange here that you bend in on that. So that did its job. Now we can remove all this stuff. So we want to make sure everything goes back the way it came off. I've heard that these can be hard to get off, and I might use a puller. All right, so now that I got the nut off, and I need to get a new one of these, I made my own little flywheel puller here, so I can either do it from here or I can do it from here. So we'll see how this works. It seems to be working. This is just a piece of stock, 3/4 inch. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we want to keep a good eye on how everything is going back in. So we're just going to leave this like it is. We have a bearing that's right here. We'll put that right back on there. You know, that's why I have all this. Is most of this is tool making stuff. So this just had a nut on here, so you can set this however you want, and then pulls it off. We have this, and there is a washer. So let's pull this. So these are put on afterwards for the recluse clutch. So just got to make sure they're all in. Some of them, they come out, and then you should be able to remove this. And then this is the washer. So we'll just leave that in place, just like that. Everything's good. We're going to clean everything. Now this is the piece that is bad, and it's my understanding that you can just pull this out just like that. So further inspection, you can see this one is bent. It's tweaked. So there's, you know, it's not, well, it's quite a bit. Look at the difference. You can see the gap between there and the gap between here. It's way bent off. I've got this assembly on order. There's a washer here. You want to make sure that you don't lose that washer, and that washer goes on just like this. But I'm sure I'm going to have to reuse these parts. So this right here, this is interesting. So you can see how, now some people have taken this off and bent this back, but there's no way that I'm going to be messing around with that. It's just like, you know, come on, just replace it. But yeah, look at the gap on that. It should just slide right on. Fairly easy fit, you know, short, you know, yeah, you do got to drain the oil and the radiator, and you do have to pull the cover off and pull the clutch basket off, and then you're good to go. I think we're not going to touch anything. We're just going to go ahead and put that cover back on just to keep things clean. So here's our cover. Everything looks fine. So I was just trying to think, okay, where does that must hit? Gosh, it's got to hit. I'm thinking about this piece right here, what it hits. It must be this right here. So that's, so when you jam the, when you hit it and push, and it pushes in, that gap right there, that's this guy right here that pushes up against that. Yeah, and you can see here, that's my shifter. So we'll replace that seal. It's the only thing we really need to replace the spindle. This guy should be okay. But anyways, we'll be back as soon as we get our part. As soon as our parts come in, then we'll go ahead and put everything back together and get this right and go out and give it a shot. See what happens. These rest right on these here for shifting. So it moves this up and down to shift. And that looks fine. That's not damaged. It's just we removed the seal for right here. We went ahead and removed that, and that's this guy right here. Just because it's, you know, it's probably taken a lot of tweaking and so on, and you can see it's kind of flat on some spots. So it's pretty worn out. So we got a replacement for this. The only thing that you keep is you keep this, and this washer right here, and that's pretty much all you really need to keep. But we'll go ahead and replace those. So first things first is to go ahead and get the new part in, and we have the new part right here, and here's your part number right there. So you can see how this piece isn't bent anymore. We'll go compare it to the other one. So here's a side by side, and let's take a look at them, if we can get them to stay. So you can see here's the one that's bent, and you can see how much it's bent. I mean, it's bent a good, you know, maybe 3/16 or more. Let's see what the distance is between there. But it's tweaked. So we're looking at just comparing. One thing I have noticed is this guy is all bent and stripped. So you can see how it's all kind of like been twisted. It's actually bent. So if you look at it, you can see that it's bent, pushed this way. So this has bend and it's kind of tweaked. First things we got to do is we've got to put the spring back on. So the spring goes on here and it is going to go around here. So you need the blue one is on this side, and then you've got to spread this one over to the other side. So we might use this and see if we can do it with this. Not sure that's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, so that worked fairly easy. The only thing that goes on next is this little guy right here. So I just use my tool. I don't see why I need to get a new spring. So we'll just go ahead and slip this guy on. There we go. Now we're in the groove. And you know you're in the groove when it will spin freely. And that's just to keep this guy from coming off. So this is ready. All right, so this little guy fits right in here. Fairly simple. And you can see how it clicks over these, okay, there. So it's on. Now we got a nice tight fit. I'm liking it. So here's your seal and the part number for that seal. All right, so that seal goes right here. So we're gonna go ahead and, okay. So this should just press right in, and it does. It presses right in. Let's make sure she's seated. Kind of equal all the way around. So this is what I was having trouble with my clutch, is that I didn't have this spring. I had the spring in there, but it wasn't in correctly. So we're gonna go ahead and do that next. A hole, so let's take a look. Maybe I was wrong. So there is a hole right there. Okay, so the little guy goes into the hole. So this guy goes into that little hole right there. So I may have had it backwards. I don't know. I just know that it wasn't working. Okay, so there's our groove. So we want to get this so that it's in that groove. Okay, so right now it's only giving resistance this way, which is probably the way, because the cable's coming here like this and so on, and it's pretty easy to screw that up. So we're gonna, right now it's resting. If you can see, it's resting there. It's at the top, and now it's resting at the bottom there, and then you can see that that's in line right there. So we're gonna try that. Okay, so now it's important that you don't forget this guy. So we'll clean it up, so don't forget it. So I forgot it, but so it's gonna go, pull this guy off. See, now it's a tight fit. So this is gonna go on here, just like that. Now you can put this in and get this back to where it needs to go. So the only thing that holds this in is the plate itself. So that, I wish they had like a pin on the other side, you know, one of those C-rings, because if you hit that really hard, you have the potential of damaging the plate, the cover on this side. So that's this washer. Then you have a second washer here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put this on. Fits over that, locks into there. That goes on there. This goes on later. It goes on with the other part. So we've got that main one on. Now the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all of these guys are in place, because you won't be able to get the basket on otherwise. All right, so we haven't removed the bearing or anything else. So it's interesting that they show this all in one piece, because you got to drop that in. Let's see if we can go back here. Yeah, it's not showing It's not showing the breakdown. Okay, so there's that one washer right there that goes on, and then now we can go ahead and put this piece on right here. All right, so now this guy will go on here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this goes on with the nut. I'm pretty sure this goes on right there like that. We'll confirm it. So now we have this on. You can see the wheels turning. So we have positive right now. So we're in. So that's interesting. So you can see that's the ratio right there. What it takes to turn the wheel here. Everything seems to be working. So next we've got to put the nut on here, and we have a way of doing that because taking it off wasn't that much of a problem. Reconfirming the way we put in. So this is what when I first installed the Recluse clutch, I took these two guys off, but I only took one off, so that wasn't good. But I caught it pretty early. So there's our washer and our nut. So we have our replacement nut right here, and that's your part number. So there's a little indentation right down here is the way you've locked this on. So you can't really put this back on with an impact. It just wouldn't be. So I'm just hand tightening it right now, getting it pushed on to the spline. This is our impact spot right there, where we'll have to tap it down once it's on untorqued and so on. So how do we keep this? So they have a tool that goes in here. So let's find our 24. Here's our 24. And yeah, see, it's showing 108 Newton. And you need to use a new one, obviously. So we're just gonna hand tighten it for right now, just to see how everything's working before we torque it down. This gives me a much bigger arm. So the way this goes on, so it screws into here. Again, this is Tony's homemade tools. All right, so I was able to get this locked down using that. So again, just another homemade, and I was able to do this and get her torqued down. I also have a lock, which I'll show you on the other side, for the chain to help ease the torque on this. But there she is. She's at 108, and go ahead and take this off, and then we'll go ahead and pin that. So I also put this guy in here, so it helps a little bit. Not that much, but it helps. It's just a pain to get in there. It's kind of small. All right, so now that that's a success, all right, that's done. So we need to pin this guy right here. All right, so we take this guy, we're gonna place it right over this and see what we can get. There we go. So you can see. All right, so we're getting ready to put the clutch pack in. Ah, that's why. Okay. Now you can just hold the whole thing like this. All right, so those guys are ready. Here are the three. All right, so these are a 10, and these go on with a 12 Newton. All right. Now it says 12 Newton meters for these, so you don't need to lock anything in place here because you're only doing 12 Newton meters, so not much to ask for. All right, so I guess next we can go ahead and make sure we get the cover on correctly. We do have. All right, so now we're ready for the plate. Make sure you got your O-rings. So there's one O-ring there. There's an O-ring here. There's an O-ring here. And then you got your 2 tabs on either side. And the gasket can only go on one way. It's not like you can put it on this way or whatever. So it goes on this way, and it's going to go right here onto the tab, over that. There should be another tab. So it pretty much goes on just like that. So we're vertical, looking good. So that's on. We'll get it secured up with a couple nuts, and then we'll go around robin on it, get everything set. Okay, you're in the way, so let's get you out of the way. Okay, so we got the 2 up there, so we're gonna have to get that bracket on, get the new cable, and so on. Now there's one more. Where's she go? I know she's gotta be here somewhere. Here she is. Okay, so this is the long one. That one goes here. We do have the washer for there, the crush washer. All right, so this guy goes on here. All right, so we've got oil in it, and we have coolant in it, and we're ready to give it a shot and see what happens here. Go ahead and turn it on, and let's see how we do through the gears. Okay, so we're in neutral, which is good. So I don't have a brake, because I haven't done the brakes yet, but so we're in first gear. Second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear, fifth gear, fourth gear, third gear, second gear, first gear. So it's shifting pretty good. Neutral. So we're going to call that good. It's definitely a lot better. So let's see how it does dry. Okay, so it's not wanting to go into first, and it could just be because it's, there we go, because it's not moving. Okay, so we're in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So fifth, fourth, third, second, first, neutral. All right, so we're liking that. So yeah, that's gonna be much better. I just need to bolt it in here, but it's already, there's hardly any play going back and forth. Okay, because so you can see there's a little bit of play. Let's get out of the light. Laterally, you can feel a little bit of play here as it knocks the back of that plate. But otherwise, I think we're going to call that repair a success. We'll have to go out and give it a ride and see how that works later on. And then I still need to adjust my clutch and make sure I got that done right. We got our new cable in, so that seems to be working well. So I think I've resolved my problem there with the spring. It was the spring that is inside here on this. It's easy for that to, when you're installing it, for this to pop up and for it to come out of that loop, out of that, the hole that's in this, and then out of the groove that's in here. So you just got to watch that, pay attention to that when you put her back together. Otherwise, she's doing good. So next I need to work on my brake, and then she'll be ready to go. But otherwise, there we go. All fixed up. Later. Thanks for watching.